Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. It's Brian. It's Tuesday. It's stream time. Ah, yeah. It's fun. Oh, wait, where's my there it is. Come on. Oh, got to turn the virtual camera on so that you can there we go. Yeah, so um you didn't see that. Um yeah, it's Tuesday. I got to enjoy the weekend. Hope you did too. And let me open this up in a different browser so I can minimize it. Yeah, good times. My daughter is, of course, at the age where she's enjoying things like prom. So we had prom this weekend. At the same time, we got to go down to the third door or triple door in Seattle, and got to enjoy a cabaret show at the same time as our daughter was at the Museum of Modern Art, Popular Art, Mopop, I think is what it's called. So got to hang out and have a good show and wait for our daughter to get out of prom. So yeah. 1 second. Move that over. There we go. Yeah, big pie. Oh, probably should change that. Hold on, wait a minute. Yeah, we're not doing game development. We're just having a good little chatty chat here. Just chatting. There we go. Fix it. Yeah. So how's everyone doing? I'm doing okay, and getting ready to. The last big hurdle for moving is out of the way. Or well, there's one more. I mean, my daughter has to graduate, but we're just getting ready for that. So yeah. Let me see. So there was yeah, there was a couple of good stories that came out today. I'm going to pull those up. Where's that big pipes one? Big pipes. Big pipes. Where is it? Big pipes. Big pipes. There it is. Open. There we go. Interesting discussions. Yeah, not that one. That one's fine. FBI. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay. That one's okay. Oh, yeah, that one's a good one. We'll talk about that too. And let me see what else. What else? Oh, so I don't get into the political stuff all that often because obviously I have ideas about political leanings and others folks don't. But there was a story from Bellingcat, which is a good site on um, gathering intelligence. As a matter of fact, I think our friend Joe Gray said he has it blocked to his router at home because if he didn't, it would be like, he'd be on it all the time talking about things and people and stuff. So there was a story about the recent shooting in Allen, Texas, and the Bellingcat folks have apparently found and profiled the shooter um, who had um, you know, caused the massacre in Allen, Texas, and tracked this person to the second largest Russian language social media network site called Odnoklassniki. I don't know. Uh, so it's behind something called VK. So I'm not up with all of the different Russian social media networks and what have you. It's hard enough just to keep track of all of the ones that I'm on here. So that's a good write up, a good discussion of how they were able to figure out who that is and how they found him. And you know, yeah, so there's that one. That was a good discussion. So there was one other one I wanted to find. Kevin Mandy, security program, RSA. Kevin Mandia spoke at RSA conference about 7 tips for cyber defense. Here we go. Now, 1 second. Let me shut my door. Yeah. Oh, Sorry, I'm dragging a bit of ass today because it's warm outside, so I'm trying to get back into running, which is something I normally did a lot more of when it was warmer. Unfortunately, we've had a very cool fall, winter, and spring. When it's 40 degrees outside, it's kind of hard to get up the gumption to go and run or jog in this case. So in the last couple of days, I've logged several kilometers of jogging, and my buttocks cheeks are paying the price for that. So am I not on? If you're lurking, say hey, because it says I'm on, but I have no viewers. So usually at least have bots. I mean that's just kind of the thing. Now it makes me. I know I'm streaming on YouTube. Let me go make sure I'm streaming on the Twitch. So it's really weird because the clock timer is not going either, which makes me wonder. It wears me out. It wears me out. It says live. Okay, so yeah, there I am. Okay. Ooh, I am so pretty. Oh, sorry. Jesus. Okay. I gotta turn that off. It's really weird to hear myself. Oh, it says I'm live. So, it was. Oh yeah. Let me boink. And okay, so I don't need VS Code. A couple other things we're going to do today is I'm going to find me some good tutorials on Golang. So you can sit around and watch that with me, or you can, feel free to move along. But what I'm trying to do is find something that I can entertain you find folks with on Fridays. Otherwise, I'm going to have to learn like Rust. So hold that thought, y'all. Damn it all. Okay. Work. It does call. Let me see. There it is. Okay. It's Tinder. But for reviewers. There you go. Kevin Mandia, I actually didn't know what that person looked like. So there you go. He did a talk at RSA, and one of the things and I got this from Risky Business Podcast, so risky.biz. Decent enough podcast. They get a little preachy sometimes. I am not as fervent a listener as I used to be. I have been listening more in the last couple days because I can't listen to my audiobooks when I'm running. So I listen to security podcasts because then it's like, I don't have to necessarily worry about the content because I miss that. It's like, he says, Kevin Mandiant knows what sets most defensible and prepared organizations apart from the rest. Now, if you remember correctly, Mandiant used to be its own company. I did have stock in it up until it was acquired by Google. Just to give you a heads up, I'm not singing their praises. Actually had stock and bought stock at their company as early as, when did I start working at CrowdStrike? So let me see. CrowdStrike was like 2014, So I think around 2014, 2015, whenever they had CEO issues and they dropped it like $12 a share, I was like, oh, they're always going to go back up. So I bought, a couple hundred shares then. And so I made a little bit of cash in the acquisition of Mandiant by Google. So wasn't a bad chunk of change. So anyway, Google owned incident response firm. Usually they're the ones that put out it's uber sophisticated that, somebody called you up and asked to inspect your passwords. And I can't believe it was super sophisticated. Yeah, it was some skid or something like that. But to the credit of Mandiant, they were to our knowledge, only hacked once, and that was during SolarWinds, which happened several years ago. So they investigated over 1,000 intrusions in 2022 alone. So that's quite impressive. Yeah, so Mandiant, now part of Google Cloud. That's what they call themselves, Mandiant, now part of Google Cloud or something like that. So yeah, here's a trends report called M-Trends. So they put out their own like yearly state of the incident response. I'd like to thank Dev Nelson for joining us and following us. Dreadful Drawl for following as well, and Triplexity for just in case I forgot him. Thank you for resubscribing. And Mace Kubu followed as well, and Upper Classla as well followed. So appreciate all of the new followers. We have 700 followers here on our little Twitch stream, which is crazy. So yeah, they gave 7 steps, right? And I found these quite interesting. I heard the discussion on Risky Business, but I went back through and I wanted to check those out again just to see if there was anything that was overlooked. And they said, mine institutional knowledge, and it says, don't forget the advantage you have. You know more about your business, your systems, your topology, and your infrastructure than any attacker does. With proper structure and an established baseline for normal activities and operations, organizations can detect anomalies faster. That's all well and good, yes. I think Patrick and Metalstorm made the joke of, when you finally gain access to the internal environment, you're usually running through the SharePoint site or whatever it is that you're using for knowledge transfer, which, to be fair, any company I've ever worked at, if you're using SharePoint, you're never updating it. So some of the information on that SharePoint may be old and busted. So it's kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, I mean, they're playing in your playground, right? They're playing in your sandbox, and as a security person, as an IT person, as somebody who understands your environment, you don't have to be a security person to mine that specific institutional knowledge. You just need to know what's wrong or what's not normal. So if you're working your job and everything's good and and everything's, and then all of a sudden it's like you're starting to see pop-ups or you're starting to see things that are out of the norm. You're like, oh, I know this isn't normal, so maybe I should say something about that. Or hey, your logs are popping up with a bunch of stuff that normally doesn't pop up on a regular basis. That's the institutional knowledge. Understanding, your network diagrams and location of your infrastructure. Man. Oh, well. So that, what's wrong. You know what to, monitor. You should know what to fix or what doesn't look normal in a normal day. So lean on multi-factor authentication. I mean, yeah, I don't know what it takes to actually put that out, and that may be something that I got an email for another email from another PR company for somebody who may come on and want to talk about some stuff like that. But what I'd love to understand is the cost involved. It might be cheaper now than what it used to be in the past. So biggest bang for your buck. Figuring out a way to get it everywhere and know you have to have it. Knowing that you have it everywhere with some sort of validation is critical. I don't know about that. I want to believe that there is a need for everybody to need multi-factor authentication. But I believe it would really come down to what you're using that multi-factor authentication for. And like most companies, they have a lot of legacy equipment, right? And you're paying extra to, have security. There's a lot of organizations out there that still charge you extra for, things like, oh, you want to put in a second factor? That's going to cost you another $3 per person per month. And it's like, why? You know, so I think that I'd love to see that. Building honeypots. That's always good. Honeypots cost money too, right? Or cost resources, time, effort. I'm going to be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. We have a couple of other things we're going to talk about. An FBI operation. Talk about honeypots. If you put them on the outside of your network, it's going to get hit once. Eventually. So I would say the honeypots that I'm thinking of may be ones that need to be internal. So, and monitored, so that if somebody either unknowingly touches it, or you've got some bad guy in there looking at salary.server.importantstuff.com, then they'll be looking for those kinds of things. So I'm gonna go get some water and I'll be right back. Oh, all right. Okay, cool. Okay. Sorry about that, y'all. I had to get some water. Like I told my wife, hey, Twitchkins, what's up? Oh, hey, Lady P. Hey, I did let you know, Lady P. So, it's getting sooner out later than it did before. What? Yeah, we're heading towards the long times. So it's 8:30 at night. I mean, that's the one thing I'm going to miss about Seattle is the when it's 9:30 at night and it's still light outside. So building honeypots, interesting concept. Fake accounts. That requires a lot of. So number 3 requires some of number 1, right? Your institutional knowledge. If you create a honeypot, you create fake accounts. Those people, you need to have something that says, hey, what is this account? Whenever you've got new people in, or you've got the annual pen test that comes in, need to be able to go, when the pen tester goes, oh, I got access using this account, whatever. You're like, yeah, I saw that because that's one of our honeypot accounts. Or, oh, I got access to, this spreadsheet full of, numbers and stuff. We're like, yeah, it's a honey doc we put out there for, shitbags to find it. And we expected that and we saw you, or something like that. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So yeah, the honeypots add to your institutional knowledge. Knowing that you've got canaries or something out there that you can look at and see that. But the problem is that takes knowledge. So I don't know how to set up a honeypot. I could probably set up some documents on a file share or something, but that takes experience and knowledge and stuff as well, to do. And I would say more often than not, that's one of those things you either get really right or you can get really wrong. In some cases, God knows you could, cause an incident response. And it's, oh, no, that's just a honeypot account. Don't worry about that. You didn't cause it. You didn't cause an incident. And depending on how public you want those honeypots to be, if you're trying to find things like insider threat potentially, Do you want somebody? How many people do you want knowing that you have canaries or honeypots or something in your environment? So it really depends on what you want your honeypot for. If you want it for intrusion detection, or if you're wanting it for like insider threat issues, that kind of thing. Steady module logging. Bad PowerShell scripts are involved in the second stage of almost every breach. To differentiate good scripts from bad scripts, Mandiant advises defenders to turn on and study module logging to gain consistent visibility into PowerShell script use across the organization's structure. Huh, module logging, huh? I am going to do something for a second. 1 second. Why is Firefox suggesting shit again? I thought I turned all that bullshit off. Let me see. Sorry, 1 second here, folks. No, don't provide search suggestions. That's why I turn that shit off, people. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. No suggestions from the web. Fuck right off there. And suggestions from sponsors. I know I turned all that shit off, so I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that. So, okay, let's do that again. So, yeah, there we go. All right, better. All right, so PowerShell module logging. There we go. PowerShell module logging. Module logging versus script logging, greater visibility through PowerShell logging. So, oh, look, Mandiant has a blog post about greater visibility through PowerShell logging. Weird. So there we go. Doink. So this has been updated with new configuration recommendations due to the 24th February re-release of PowerShell 5. Oh, this is, I was going to say this is old, but yeah, okay. So updated January 5th, 2023. Okay. They're up to like PowerShell 7 now, so I'm not exactly sure. Let me go find a more up-to-date one. Let me see. Filters, tools, anytime in the past year. 2022, 2022. Okay, how about within the past month? Yeah, they're up to like version 7 on that now, so it's probably too soon. Let me see, custom range from February 28th to, yeah, we'll do that. There we go. Here's fucking tech target. Native tool in Windows, starting in PowerShell 4, enhanced in PowerShell 5. Script block logging produces an audit trail of executed code. Introduced a logging engine that automatically decrypts the code that was obfuscated with methods such as XOR, base64, ROT13. PowerShell includes the original encrypted code for comparison. Set up a Windows system for logging. Okay. Okay. Two primary ways for script block logging on a Windows system: by setting a registry value directly or by specifying appropriate settings in the GPO or group policy object. Oh, that's nice. Script logging, you can force script logging. My wonder is, and I don't know dick about PowerShell, but can you disable that or allow it to be disabled? Might be a question we can ask our friend Mick Douglas, PowerShell extraordinaire person, to talk about. But yeah, there's various. So here's how you set the Script logging, enable script logging, value 1 force. Okay, so that's a registry entry that you can add, or you can add the new item path. That's interesting. 1 second. Okay, good. All right. Just checking to make sure I didn't end up having an emergency meeting or something. I'm working incident response now, such as it is. So, ironically enough, this is something that came up. I asked the question in our Slack chat today. I said, let me see, where was it? What are some good Windows technologies for limiting access to applications or removing the ability for a user to call up CMD or PowerShell.exe? So, Windows Application Defender was one. Privileged access deployment. Also, containerizing apps using Windows containers. So, I mean, there's a number of things that you can do for that, but yeah. So, there we go. So let me see. Number 5, report risks consistently. The most secure organizations include executives that report risks to boards in consistent ways. This means being repetitive when necessary rather than sharing wildly divergent risk assessments from one board presentation to the next. That's interesting. That does require a bit of, I don't know, what do I want to call that? Understanding of what your board cares about. And now if you're, rank and file help desk person, you don't give two shits what your board worries about because everything flows up to your various management. But if you're, senior person, CISO, being able to understand and maybe keep track of the risks that you talked about previously. Lady P says, half the time the board doesn't know what they're thinking until I tell them. Wow. That's a good one. Hot takes right there. Spicy. Spicy takes. Yeah, I often wondered about that. The other half, they just don't listen. Yeah. I think, so Lady P, let me play devil's advocate here. Unless there's something that the lawyers are telling them is bad, do they need to listen? I mean, I'm just gonna step away and assume that everything is okay. What, it feels like Dr. Evil. It's like, oh, I'm just gonna leave them this elaborate death trap and walk away like nothing's wrong. What's that? And then of course James Bond gets out, or he escapes because he's got something from the Q division that let him got him out. If you're not in the news, then you're probably doing okay, right? I'm only being half facetious there, Lady P, but that's my thinking on this. It's like, look, it's as long as the place isn't burning down, y'all are probably still doing an okay job. I mean, for me, from a board point of view, do I really want to get into particulars of whether or not we patched some ODay? Probably not. I don't know. So, Lady P, in this case, you're controlling the narrative, right? Which is probably what they're trying to say. If they don't listen, it's because they know that you're. Maybe look at it this way, Lady P. You're so competent, they don't have to listen because they know you got this, right? You're managing up, exactly. But if they, if they don't, if they're not listening, maybe it's because they trust you to do the right thing and that you're going to keep them, well paid and not have to, execute their golden parachutes. So I maybe we think of it like that. If they were crawling up and trying to figure out what you had for breakfast yesterday, that's because you're not giving them the information they need or what have you. So let me see. Number 6, identify assets of importance. Security professionals should know their assets that matter most to an organization and regularly gauge the potential risks confronting those assets. Recommended defenders take this a step further by engaging in tabletop exercises involving the risks that cause the most worry and potential damage to the organization. Right. Okay. So Lady P says, I generally just tell them what I already did. Right. You're not waiting for them to tell you what to do. You, already have a course of action. You've already executed on that. They don't have to come back and go, well, I think you should probably engage in some blockchain, AI and stuff, whatever. You're like, nope, I already got this. It's done. Oh, okay, cool. I don't have to think anymore. I just keep taking hundreds of thousands of dollars a day in checks and things. Oh, my tea time is up at 3 o'clock. I'm gonna go. That's while they're sucking down mai tais and mimosas, and yes, you're keeping the wheels on. So they're staying the hell out of your way too. So there's that, right? They were getting involved and trying to dig up in your shit and tell you what to do. I think you'd probably have bigger problems, right? So identifying assets of importance. I don't. Gods. I think that works. I think that works when you have clearly defined, exactly where all the data is, kind of thing. As I have found in orgs that I've been involved with or done engagements with, and this is the silo thing, right? And I have a saying that I have always attributed to Mark Twain, but I cannot find anywhere where he actually said that. But I used to say, Mark Twain said that all the riverboat captains on the Mississippi knew their little part of the river and nothing else, and that was like what I defined a silo to be. They only know their little area. But I could not find. I spent a good 4 or 5 hours trying to find where in his writings or where he had quoted that from. I do not know. So I'm going to continue using it. I cannot attribute it to Mark Twain anymore. But my thought was, you're going to know, and that you're being security people, developers, IT, they're going to know their little area, and they're going to know what their assets are most important. So I think identifying the assets of importance, security professionals should know the assets that matter most to an organization. I think security professionals should talk to teams and ask them where those are and what they have done to try to safeguard those things. Instead of all the, security professionals should know where all of the assets are. You're never going to know that, right? This is something where a security professional should be responsible for contacting various teams, maybe to figure out where those things are, instead of the security professional hunting those things down themselves. Because security professional has different definitions for that, right? Where I would see a database of, things that probably aren't all that important. Or maybe I think all databases are important. Well, this one just has, data from, I don't know. Let's say it's a data set that isn't all that important, but I see it as a database. Databases equal important data because the company's storing it. Really, I think it comes down to, hey, Digital Warhead, what's up? My definition of what is important and somebody else's definition of important may not be the same. And I think in discussing that with those teams, you either go, oh, I think all of this is important. They're like, well, it's just, when the doors open to this room. And it's like, oh, okay, is that an important thing? Maybe not, not in the aggregate. Or, if the IT folks, well, we just manage all this customer data, it's not a big deal. Oh, yes, it is. So, we need to have that. So I think some of the identifying assets requires security people to come out of their shell, break down some silos, talk about with teams what they consider to be important, and then maybe having a crib sheet of going like, security thinks this is important, IT doesn't think this is important. Okay, let's try to compromise, right? but I don't think security people should be the ones definitely, trying to hunt all that shit down. So divide and conquer, delegate something, something, something. Tabletop exercises. I'm not sure how one does the other. Maybe we can ask Miss Berlin about that later on. She does tabletop exercises for incident responses and things. I think you could probably have some meetings, not necessarily tabletop exercise, but you could have working meetings to go, okay, I found this database, or this database is full of customer data. It's a development environment using production data. No, 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 don't do that. That kind of stuff. So collaborate and listen. Building off the theme of RSA's conference, Stronger Together, Mandia says businesses should regularly participate in some community of their choosing to keep their defenders engaged, sharing and learning from other security organizations' operations. I think this is kind of what Dr. Ullman was talking about a little while ago. Stop, collaborate, and listen. Yeah, exactly. I don't have my hammer pants on, but oh no, wait, that's Vanilla Ice, ice, baby. Yeah. Sorry. I wasn't listening to Vanilla Ice as a kid. I listened to country and Western music. Yes, Lady P, ice, baby. I think this is what Dr. Ullman was talking about with like active defenders. And I think we could probably take it a step further by companies should be, getting engaged or communicating with, sharing and learning. I think like ISACs and stuff, having expanded capabilities to communicate. Security people, you could be putting out a newsletter or an email to various teams or something. Maybe you take maybe you take this security dive article and say, hey, I found this Kevin Mandia who works for Mandiant or works for Google now. You could probably just say works for Google. Had this top 7 tips, and what do you think about this? And some of it is creating internal community or an internal pipeline for communication, and others might be, hey, maybe you should go to RSA, or maybe you should go to Wild West Hackin' Fest, or maybe you should go to B-Sides insert city next to you, or something like that to understand, and that might be a benefit for the company to say, yes, we definitely want to be involved with that. We want you to go and understand and learn things on the cheap. But yeah. If there's a problem, I'll solve it. Check out the hook while my DJ falls. You almost got me rapping. God damn it. Yeah. Stop, pet your shit and listen. Yeah, exactly. There you go. Oh, good job there, Digital Warhead. That's is that the Interpreter Shell guy? No, that's just another white guy dancing. Cool. All right. So yeah, I mean, he's a CEO of Mandiant, powered by Google or whatever the fuck they call themselves now. So he's not out completely in left field. He did mention artificial intelligence. He did mention blockchain. Some of this stuff is actually probably pretty legitimate, including the PowerShell stuff. Most bad guys on their second stage uses some kind of script to pull things down, and because Windows is a good tool. Oh, okay, it's one of Triplexity's emotes. Yeah, shout out to Triplexity. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't shout out properly. I shall give the shout out to the Triplexity. There we go. But yeah, so I mean, they're not bad. I mean, welcome to the Terror Dome. Oh my goodness. Hello, Security Live. Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the raid. Thank you for everybody coming and hanging out. We're just talking about some stuff today. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Oh my goodness. Yes, Dylan Royal Gaming. Hello, how you doing? I'm Brian Brake. Do a stream here regularly. Yeah. Thanks, everybody. So we were talking about some news stories that come up because it's Tuesday, and we'll probably find some good Golang tutorials later on. Hey, Fixit42, welcome. So we just did Kevin Mandiant, who did a talk at RSA about some of the 7 things for cyber defense, which it did not include purchasing anything. Actually, that was the other thing. He's like, well, technically, multi-factor authentication does require you to purchase something. I don't know of any good open source 2FA kind of systems that you could use. You can build a honeypot on the cheap. Module logging doesn't cost anything. Reporting risks is only a cost of your sanity if you listen to Lady P. Hey, Security Live, thank you for subscribing. Oh my goodness. Hey, Digital Warhead, thank you for gifting tier 1 sub to Security Live. You're a good person, sir. So yeah, a lot of these things don't cost a lot of money. I would say the biggest expense here would be the multi-factor authentication. You're either going to have to go to an Okta or a push notification or some kind of system like that, or YubiKey. Especially if you're going to. Yep, FIDO2. Yep, right. VR Cloud. As a matter of fact, my company just dropped some FIDO2 clouds. Just dropped some FIDO2 keys to me. Pretty interesting. I don't need to have a password anymore. I mean, even more so than usual, because the only password I have is I have the long press and the short press on my Gen 1 YubiKey, and I have to change it yearly. So I just pop the YubiKey auth system on, and I say generate me another 35 character password, and then done. So yeah. And actually, this one was given to me by the YubiKey folks back in the day, but I have a Gen 5 as well that does like NFC and shit. So yeah. That is a good. Well, so I have the YubiKey for logging into my computer and for things like VPN, but then I have a separate FIDO2 key. Yeah, I have a separate FIDO2 key that I use for passwords. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Security Live. If somebody, people leave their keys plugged in all the time, you take the laptop, you take the keys, you've got in, right? So yeah, there's some downside to that. I mean, I don't have a key ring anymore because I don't have keys. But it would definitely be a problem if I went into my office. I would definitely unplug or and lock my workstation. But yeah, I did an onsite back in May of last year, and left my YubiKey in my other pants in my hotel room, and thankfully my work site was only about a couple miles away, so I was able to Uber it back. But yeah, it was rough. I couldn't get in. I don't know what my password was. So that's my daughter over there. You can't see her. Yeah, I have the NFC one. I've tried using it on like my phone and stuff, but I have 1Password and other things like that for my password keys. Microsoft failed, however, on implementing FIDO2 for smartphones. I can't log into my Microsoft account on my smartphone. Oh yeah. Yeah, I still don't have work stuff on my personal phone, so I haven't had a need to try to use the YubiKeys and all that stuff for it. So, VRL Cloud, again, thank you for joining and being a raider from Security Live. But 1Password and password lockers now are pretty much a dump for everything, like driver's license photos and stuff. And I think that was the biggest issue that a lot of folks had with LastPass, right? You're not just putting passwords in there. You're putting SSH keys. You're putting in your driver's license. You're putting in passport photos. You're putting in, backup recovery keys if you lose your MFA solution. I mean, it had become a dumpster for all of your PII, and it was going to cause even more issues than just a simple, I lost the password to a 10-year-old forum that I never visited before. I mean, great in theory, but then it's like your password's got to be, powerful enough to escape, being guessed. So, heard this one. This is a little old. May 9th. Oh no, that's today. Okay. Um, so in the interests of, I don't want to call it hacking back because I think that there's shades of gray on that. The FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation here in the U.S., one of our law enforcement arms, disarmed a snake malware network, and by doing so, they did the good guy hacking where they actually went in and disabled it. So they snake malware is used to steal secrets from NATO member governments. It's the threat group called Turla, which is about 20 years old, which makes them old and beardy for those folks. Yeah, one-stop shop for hijackers. You're right, VRL Cloud. So yeah. So they developed a tool named Perseus, which if you follow your there you go. So it's court authorized disruption of a malware network controlled by FSS, which is, so FBI went after Russia's version of FBI, I think, and disabled their implant network. So that was, good work. So they say FSB. Okay, so it's FSB or FSS. FSB relied on malware to conduct cyber espionage against the United States. It ends today. If it's anything like the snake, analogy, you've cut off one head, another one's going to grow. So they may have turned it off temporarily, but they used Operation Medusa. There you go. So so this is an example of like good hacking. From what I understand, they went in and actually, got rid of the infrastructure on that. So, and of course, Kevin Mandia is involved, tracking Turla's activities for many years. So this is, an example of kind of the hacking back thing. Has there been a case where someone's LastPass blob has been decrypted? I think the threat because of the breach or what have you for LastPass was always a problem, but I mean, let me see if they've updated the. So that's the notice. Here's the latest article. Yeah, I don't know. What data was accessed? What should you have done? It's not just encrypted with your password. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think this, I think the incident itself, right? It's the number of rounds. It's an issue, Lady P. You're probably correct here. I think these companies are. How do I want to say this? They're supposed to be a security company, right? So you get this idea that they're above reproach, or they, security is our number one tenant. We really care about security. And let's see, if you want to attack one high value target, theoretically it can be done. If you want to attack everyone, good luck with that. Yeah. If anything, I would say LastPass. It was probably fairly targeted. It felt like it said we've a great deal more about what have happened over the same period. We invest a significant amount of time and effort hardening our security while improving overall operations. This was as of March 1st, so this is a few months old. It seems like they've put the end on that, but I don't know. I don't know if it's misplaced trust, but it's like one of those things where it's like, hey, everybody should use a password locker, and it's like, which one should you use? And it's like, well, how paranoid are you? And it's like, well, I don't want my password stuck in that cloud right there. I don't want to use them LastPasses or them, them dash lanes or them 1Passwordses. I still use LastPass, so if there's a risk, I want to know about it. No company's above reproach, but if how they encrypt and handle those blobs was a lie, then I'm concerned. You're absolutely right. Security Live. I left LastPass, and like Lady P said, LastPass, left LastPass because of bad hygiene. It could be, how secure do you want your passwords to be? The fact that they were breached at all. Part of it in most breaches, it's like, the playbook is, oh, no customer data was ever breached. And then 2 days later, it's like, oh, well, a limited number of customers have, had their data potentially looked at. And then it's like the third, piece of the playbook is, nope, we were owned left, right, and center, completely runt, and twice as criminal. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I think this was the second Lady P. Was it the first or second time? I want to say this. They got in two separate times. So, um, but they actually have recommendations. Oh, it's the third. Okay. All right. So yeah, two incidents we discussed last year affected LastPass and customers. Neither incident was caused by a product defect. They were quick to say that. No product defect or unauthorized access to, rather a threat actor exploited a vulnerability in third-party software, so supply chain issue, bypass existing controls and access non-production development or backup storage environments. So we've shared IOCs, TTPs, LMNOGs, XYs, I don't know, with law enforcement and threat actors and forensic partners. They make money off of putting people's private data online. Axon Jackson, who does? They make money off of putting people's private data online. Yeah, I'd like to, maybe get some, it's not like they were, using, it was a third party that did get them, in fact. So, yeah, I mean, it was, oh, I see. So Action Jackson, I'm guessing you're a Bitwarden fan, or maybe a KeyPass fan. I'm waiting for that. Ding, 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 ding. Wait for it. I'm guessing if it's online, it's not safe. Personally hosted Bitwarden. Again, that's, I'm somebody with the redneck accent, I guess. We prefer the term crimson throated here, or ruby thoraxed, if you will. Coming from Missouri myself, I completely understand. It does mean easier access, but yeah. I mean, it really just depends on your threat model, right? Like Lady P moved to a personally hosted Bitwarden. Um, I think you can use someone else's computer if you encrypt the data before you send it away. Yeah, ruby throated, crimson thoraxed, what have you. I mean, I've used Vercrypt, I've used, all of those things. Uh, I don't, it really just depends on what your threat model is. If you are storing work stuff, I don't use a LastPass or a 1Password for that. I actually only have 2 passwords. So, and both of them are on my YubiKey, and I don't know what they are. So if I lose my YubiKey, I'm fucked. So the need for a password locker at my workplace is not applicable anymore. I've used Vercrypt. I used TrueCrypt before that, and then I used Vercrypt for a while. So yeah, multipass. Yeah. Lady P. Let me grab that. Multipass. Yes. There they are. Did I not put a link? Yeah. I didn't. Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. No, back it up. Okay, there you go. Yeah, hardware authenticator. There you go. There you go. The multipass. Yes. um. So yeah, that's what Lady P showed us the other day. They have wireless options for that, PIN numbers, etc. Um, Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, it really depends on what your threat model is. I've been using 1Password for a good while now. I used KeePass and XC before that, um, and I utilized this Bitcoin Trezor wallet for YM's keys. I actually don't see redneck as being all that disparaged. I am from the Midwest, so we sometimes keep that as a badge of honor. But yeah, it's all right. I need to yeah. So Lady P has deployed some of these multi passes to her own place, and so but yeah, uh, I think that's some of the issue that we have, where everybody needs to use something, right? And going back to the discussion here with Kevin Mandia and his, leaning on multi-factor authentication. I think there are some legitimate places where you should use multi-factor authentication. Logging into work, for instance. I think that there's still a bit of a lift on MFA that makes it unappealing to people who aren't at work. Trying to get my mother to convert to an MFA password and to use something like, Google Authenticator or whatever on the 3 websites she goes to, just not going to happen. And I've given up. We don't use encrypted communications for SMS because it's like, you know, I'm trying to troubleshoot with her over the same system that she can't use. So, um, yeah, PCI DSS does require use of MFA. That's for a while now. Yeah. But yeah, so like I said, the 7 things that Kevin Mandia had mentioned while at RSA, the one that's going to cost you the most is obviously the MFA stuff, not just in terms of cash money, but it's also going to take time and effort and education, and you're going to want people who want that. Is going to have to be a parent. It's one of those things where if you force it, you're going to have problems, but it's one of those things you can force because there's numerous examples out there of not having not having it is worse than having it. And of course, it depends on the version you have. SMS is better than nothing. Obviously, NIST wants us to not use it anymore, but if it's the only option you have, it is the lowest level of effort one, and the one that most everybody would understand. So if you're trying to get to, I want 100% acceptance across, from non-techies to techies, simple SMS text is going to be the way to go. You can put in other, risk mitigating factors there. But if you want something high end, like I'm going to deploy FIDO keys all over Hell's Half Acre, you're looking at more cost. You're looking at people who, oh, I lost my key, and well, there you go. There's another $50 down the drain. So we're going to expect to lose $10,000 a year in keys or something like that. And it has to scale, right? So everybody has a cell phone. Not everybody wants to keep a FIDO key. Trezor is a hardware device like YubiKey, but with a touchscreen and aimed towards crypto buyers and sellers. But the use case for Trezor is still applicable for things like FIDO, SSH keys, and more features. Yeah, I mean, if you have enough crypto that's actually worth anything these days, you might want to get one of those Trezor things. I don't see a need to protect my Dogecoin. So, yeah. So far, no one has lost their YubiKeys yet. Forgotten them, but not lost them. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Yeah. So, yeah. Going back to our discussion on dark reading, the FBI shut down this snake malware site, which is great, but it could be, we'll see something else rise up out of the ashes. The FSB's obviously got some talented folks, just like the FBI. So what didn't work with Snake will be, some other offensive security tool will be created that somebody will be like, hey, cool, we create another C2 thing, use this, and eventually it'll be used by the FSB. So, what is an offensive security tool now is going to be used by threat actors eventually. So, but it's good. I mean, this is a can a Trezor be used as UTF? I just assumed it was a cold storage wallet. Oh, okay. Um, this is the kind of hacking back I think that makes sense when you have assets that can do so. I think I talked about that today on Twitter a little bit, where somebody said, "Yeah, hey, this is this is hacking back, right? This is fixing what is busted by sometimes you have some good guy people that will go in and patch routers that have bad bugs on them and allow them to be used for IoT pivots or what have you." Um, and I was like, yes, it's great that the FBI can do this. The worry is the hacking back of somebody who is sitting on a work computer in their work network and they see a bad IP address and they send DDoS attacks to that because they want to stop whatever that IP address is doing because they're a bad person, and you find out it's somebody's Tor node, or somebody was owned and you've now sent a DDoS against somebody else. So there's reasons to hack back, but as a blue teamer, you probably shouldn't do that. You're only going to cause yourself more pain and anguish. So let me see. Oh, this one was interesting. Let me see if I've got those. Okay, so this is a Wired.com article. So what is this? What was it called? Trezor. Digital Warhead, wants to see what it's about. So let me go grab something here. Hardware wallet, ding. There you go. Trezor.io. Ah, that's how you know it's legit, because it has a .io domain. There you go. Ultimate in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency security. So I can make sure that my Dogecoin is that much more secure. So one of these days I'll break even on my Dogecoin. I'm sure I will. So yeah. So they were talking. So on the heels of the FBI taking down, Snake, they also took down 13 cyber attack for hire services yesterday. So apparently some of these folks, I read some of the synopsis earlier. There were actually several people in the United States, I think California, Illinois, and Florida. One of them was a dog trainer, I think. Yeah, Texas. Okay, yeah. Jeremiah Sam Evans Miller. Wow, that's a lot of names. 23, pled guilty April 6th to conspiracy and violating Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. Angel Manuel Colon Jr., Bellevue, Florida, pled guilty to conspiracy and violating CFAA. Who's the dog trainer? Which one was it? I want to say a couple of Florida men, Shamar Shattock and Corey Anthony Palmer, pled guilty as well for DDoS attacks. They were running booter services. One of the domain seized CyberStress appears to be the same service operated under the domain cyberstress.us, seized in December. While many of the previously disrupted booter services have not returned, today's action reflects law enforcement's commitment to targeting those operators who've chosen to continue their criminal activities. I'm trying to. Was this the one? No, maybe it was this one here. So there are people working in the background called Big Pipes to target booter services plaguing the internet. And I thought this was kind of a discussion. Crypto wallet online to a cold wallet offline. Yeah, I understand Digital Warhead. Like most hipsters, I print out all of my Bitcoin. So I have, 800 pages of a Bitcoin somewhere that I've, single space, 10-point font, that kind of thing. And then I just type it in manually, like most hipsters. So, whenever I want to, take my 100th of a Bitcoin. So yeah, I have to type it in manually, it's what I do. So these detectives have worked for years tracking, measuring, and ranking booter or stressor services. It started out, Allison Nixon, for those of you who don't know her, she's a security researcher. I think worked at, I want to say she worked at Dell SecureWorks, but then she moved over to Deloitte, of course. and had suggested collaborating to work on the growing problem of booter services. So she is at least one, but there's other folks. So they're recruiting staff from major internet services. They tend to lay pretty low, and they don't want to, advertise who they are for obvious reasons. So you can go and read about some of these items on this Wired discussion. Did I already put that one on there? No, I did not. Let me go and put that link for everybody to follow along and read. So yeah, so they grew. So they started out, deepening their relationship with the FBI, because obviously they're trying to get these DDoS systems offline. And so, yeah, disruptive DDoS attacks against PlayStation, Xbox, taking down, folks on Christmas Day. There was one called Quantum, they said, that launched 80,000 DDoS attacks, and then another one downed them, accused of launching 200,000 attacks. Here it is. 3 men operating those services in Pennsylvania, Illinois, and California, including a dog trainer, Matthew Gattrell, was arrested and charged. So the dog trainer, I think, lived in Illinois. I just found it interesting. Yeah, so Illinois man. I just found it interesting. He's like, well, I do dog walking, and then I come home and I have my booter for hire service that I do, because apparently dog walking doesn't pay the bills. Yes, exactly, VRL Cloud. Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting, the dog walking service didn't make it, so he needed to do that. So he's not even training dogs anymore. He's now in jail. So yeah, it takes 4 years for the Justice Department to work up the trial. 4 years to get him sentenced to 2 years in prison, including the pandemic. So he probably did time served if he was arrested and they were trying to get him in for that. So yeah, it takes a long time, so it may not even be worth it. 2 years to get 4 years to do 2 years worth of work, but maybe they get better at it. Can we let him out on work furlough so he can so when you say, Lady P, when you say walk in the dogs, is it the dogs are chasing him in his orange jumpsuit, or I'm imagining your dog's on a treadmill while he's he's on a treadmill while your dogs are behind. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could probably do that. I don't see a problem with that. As long as the dogs get exercise, that's the important thing. Yeah. So yeah. It's interesting. They said if we take the big pipes away, could we have worked the cases against booter services? Yes, but it would have taken a few more years. So it took them 4 years just to get that one guy, and he only served 2 years. It would have taken him like 6 years to get 2 years worth of potential there. So they can eat him at the end of the long. Ew. And you get that you get that stuck in your teeth, whatever. The dogs would probably not like that, having to dig that out of their teeth. So but yeah, it's a good long article. I'd love to have Allison on to talk about this, but I don't want her to be more public than that. Maybe she would not want to come on and talk about this because of the potential issues and the potential OPSEC that could be dropped accidentally there. So, but she's doing great work, and she should be applauded for that. So if you ever get a chance to see her at a conference or something, get her a big adult beverage, because she's probably saved your company more than once. So, all right, let's go see. We got Dark Readings. This was the Justice Department announcement. I don't know if I posted that up, but you can go read the official announcement where they brought suit against FSB. That one there. Yeah, that's the Mandiant report for 2023. Yes. We did Windows Defender application control stuff. Yes. Yeah, that's that one. LastPass. Yeah. What's that there? Oh, fantastic rootkits and where to find them. Yeah, I saw this. This was on a threat research blog for CyberArk. Excuse me. It's a little old. It's from October of last year, but it's talking about how to find various rootkits and where to get a hold of them if you wanted to analyze them for malware purposes, or you wanted to join Big Pipes or something, and maybe these rootkits, or using them for financial gain, or maybe they're used in combination with other attacks like the DDoS attacks. So. Looking at the MITRE matrix, we can find a rootkit under defense evasion. Rootkits are divided into two types based on their privilege levels. So you have kernel mode rootkits. These are the typical rootkits. They run as highly privileged users, usually NT Authority system, in the kernel itself, and can modify kernel structures and memory to manipulate the OS and hide itself from AVs, etc. In Windows, this would typically mean running as a kernel driver. Sorry. And then the other one is user mode rootkits. Rootkits that do not have a kernel mode component, they would hide their presence on the system by using user mode techniques and APIs that manipulate the OS, such as hooking, process injection. Kits don't fall into the classic rootkit definition as they're not running as root. So it'd be user kits, maybe, something like that. These days, many modern malware families contain some form of a user mode rootkit, as they usually try to evade detection and removal by AVs and users themselves. Yes, if it's not in the rootkit region of France, it's just called sparkling malware. Good job, Lady P. Bully for you. There's a couple of different, part one, part two goes into a discussion on Windows internal primer, talking about LSASS, SMSS, EXE, WinInit.exe. Various service processes and system and user processes and how everything works there. So, pretty good graphics, I mean, for what they are. And so somebody actually, took the time to go through and explain how all these different things work in user and kernel modes. I don't do malware analysis, but I can appreciate the time and effort it took to build all of these and get this done. This was definitely a labor of love for somebody. This was not your typical blog post, because I've been scrolling and I'm only halfway down. So there's a ton of stuff and a lot of good screenshots here. So if you do want to read up on that, go take a look at that discussion. I think there's actually a part two to this as well. Next article, let's see. I don't know why. I don't know why, but they didn't link to part two. So here's part two's version. I found part two first and just use ChatGPT to summarize it. I think ChatGPT would probably give me a rootkit at that case, right? If I asked really nicely, or was able to game it so that it would work like that. So yeah, there's additional content here on fantastic rootkits and where to find them, part two. We're going to dive into some more analysis here. So this is a long form article on all the things rootkit wise, including various methods on how to do so. So it's a great little write-up. It's got some assembly in there. Something for everybody, right? You've got some assembly code, you got some actual code, Windows kernel instructions. I mean, this is really, I wouldn't say, what is it, 600 level is what SANS has for malware analysis and stuff. So yeah, go check some of that out. So yeah, it's another long form article. Jeez. Oh, and they got some memes in here too. So you got dogs. They're using the picture for steganography. There you go. So everything is in here. You got steganography, you've got reverse engineering, you've got some web stuff, you've got packet analysis from Wireshark. I mean, these two links all together is the whole of InfoSec in two articles. So there you go. You probably got some incident response stuff, and you got some IOCs. Here's some IOCs. Got some samples, sample overview with a nice structure here. So yeah. Go check those out if you want to read about that. But I don't know who CyberArk is. It sounds like they're an IDM company. It's great. If they put out content like this, you might want to check out their blog on the reg to see what their write-ups look like. So there you go. Beating intermittent encryption. So yeah, there's your access insider threats by asking 6 key questions. Interesting. What are the 6 key questions? What is it you say you do here? To address insider identity risk, ask these 6 questions. What assets matter most and where do they live? Okay, so we just heard from Kevin Mandia on his article about figuring out where your most important assets are. Can we see how users are handling sensitive data? Okay, so you need some logs, right? A consistent way to record, audit, and protect user activity, particularly in web apps and privileged sessions. Okay, that's good. You want to know. You want to know if Jim is. We talked about this with the insider threat person, Lindsay Wolf. Changes in behavior. I mean, we saw it with like U.S. spies or what have you. You're going to look at things like UEBA, which is user behavioral analysis. So UEBA, user entity and behavior analytics. There you go. Security Live says CyberArk is a widely used privileged access manager solution in the enterprise and other IAM products, and it's expensive. Well, yeah. I wouldn't say if it's good, you're going to have to pay for it. But to be honest, the articles are a little better than average. So, they could be putting out crap, but it sounds like, whoever wrote that one about, rootkits is doing a pretty good job. So, they might, hey, you know what, Security Live, they might be looking for sponsors. If you're looking for sponsors, you could be, talking to game companies or mice or, games or something, or you could, talk to CyberArk. I ran out of Twitch chat characters for the summary in Valley Girl. Oh my God, like we're totes going to talk about rootkits in this blog series, right? We'll rather pay kernel driver analysis on Windows stuff, so rootkits in this are super sneaky, hiding deep inside the OS. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Well done, you. Oh, you have a few clients that use CyberArk. Okay, very cool. All right. Are we analyzing behavior to make more intelligent access decisions? Okay, that's pretty good. They used Gartner. Gartner, ew. A focused insider risk management program should proactively and predictively identify behaviors that may result in the potential exfiltration of corporate assets or other damaging actions. Oh my God, that's god awful. That's a really long freaking definition. DWICAN in the Discord. Okay. Yeah. Are there ways we can improve the insider experience? What? Suggests that the amount of effort required to do something influences what we think we see. In other words, people are likely to perceive challenging tasks like repeated authentication prompts to access resources to be less appealing. Oh, okay. And when the tough gets going, people take shortcuts and drive up insider risk. I don't quite understand what they mean by that. It seems to me driving up insider risk, I think some of that goes along with the actions of the company itself, not necessarily it's like, oh, I don't like these multiple authentication attempts. I'm going to go and leak data to the internet. I guess you could, cut corners that do stuff like that. Like, oh, I want to be able to access my server via SSH outside the web, outside the jump box or what have you. 2022 survey found 69% of employees have bypassed their org's cybersecurity guidance in the past 12 months, while 74% they said they would be willing to bypass guidance if it helped them or their team achieve a business objective. There's a lot to unpack there, I'll tell you that. Because I'd like to flip that on its head, and it's like 69% of employees feel that the cybersecurity policies and procedures are too cumbersome to use. Which it's like your cybersecurity or your security processes are too cumbersome. 74% said they would do it in a heartbeat because it's a business objective. Nobody ever got fired for, not Nobody ever got fired. I would say nobody ever got fired for bypassing a security to meet a business objective. Is that a fair assumption? Should I say that? It's almost like nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM or buying IBM. But it sounds like a lot of these companies having, security people that are like, it's our way or the highway. Everyone must have a password locker, and you're going to have 800 character passwords, and you're going to have 15 of the things that cause you to, have to do a bunch of bullshit. I know that's an unpopular opinion from me, but if you've ever watched any of my streams, I'm starting to rail against these things in some cases. How do we bridge the cybersecurity expectation reality gap? Awareness is up, and most people recognize cybersecurity is everyone's job. That isn't a defensible defense. 2.9% of employees click on phishing links. Attackers still have plenty of opportunity to steal credentials and yes, you only have to be wrong once, basically, right? They said zero trust. Gross. Okay, yeah, we're gonna bypass that one. And are we tackling identity-based threats holistically? Organizations often use separate products to manage access for workforce and privileged identities, which require separate user and resource management and identity-related risk assessment. Oftentimes, the decision is out of my hands. I have GRC to enforce. Yeah, I was also involved in a company where PCI was like the end-all, be-all. The problem I had with using GRC as a weapon to get things done was once we got past the stuff that was in PCI, like, all these servers over here that did things like, that weren't PCI, again, they only cared about this little part of their river. If it wasn't if it wasn't in PCI compliance, they didn't give a shit about this stuff over here. And it was hard to, once you left the influence of the PCI and the GRC folks, it was harder to get shit done on this side, and this side suffered a lot, sadly. You don't have to like it, but you do have to either comply or find another job. I scope everything PCI and be done with it. Yeah, to be fair, that was in 2010, so like PCI 3 was like brand freaking new. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I would have considered everything in scope for PCI, just from the fact that you probably could have pivoted at some point because, everybody's PCI compliant until you put in a new firewall change. So, but yeah. So, interesting discussion here on the CyberArk website. I'm going to go check out some of these other blogs because that's pretty good. But, I have to go make dinner, and I apologize for that. I'm going to put my camera back on because I'm pretty. Oh, there we go. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank Security Live for joining me today. I do want to pass on the love here, if everybody will be okay with that. See who's online right now so that I can do that. That one's Triplexity's online playing some Halo. We have Malware Office Hours. Ooh, okay. Let's go check him out or check them out. All right. So, hope everyone has a good day. Come and check us out on our Discord. Okay. And we'll have a stream on Friday after I do some Golang checking for some tutorials. You can join our Discord. We do have a code of conduct, and Lady P will smack you around if you are not following those. But yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Thank you Security Live for rating us, and glad you could be here for the discussion. And we'll see y'all Friday. Bye, y'all.